Welcome to this post-screening interview from Page to Screen Film Festival 2021. Of course, you've just watched Ammonite, and now we're joined by writer-director Francis Lee. Hi, Francis. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm really good, thank you. I'm enjoying the sunshine in Yorkshire at last. All is good. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. Yeah, enjoying the sun by the sea in Dorset, where of course you where of course you shot as well, but it didn't look as particularly the sea didn't look as particularly inviting as perhaps it does today. What was it like I guess, in the development? Did you visit Dorset in the writing process and the development, and yeah, what was that like for you?
Well, first of all, thank you everybody for joining us for this Q&A, and thank you very much for watching the film. So I went to Lyme Regis, where Mary Anning was born and lived and worked, and was helped massively down there by the Lyme Regis Museum and a wonderful paleontologist called Paddy Howe, and did as much research as I possibly could before I started writing. I wanted to understand all the facts about Mary and her life and that particular geographical location before I then wrote my imagining, if you like, of Mary and that world. So I knew if I was going to deviate from the story, why I was making those choices, and did those choices feel plausible? So yeah, I did a lot of research down there, and I think I went down to Lyme Regis in January, and was really struck with how brutal on that day I was there that landscape was. And the sea was roaring, and it was raining, and it was grey, and it was wet, and it really fired my imagination to what that must have felt like for someone, Mary, to go out onto those beaches in all weathers, and how dangerous that was, and how bleak that was, to be able to find the things, her relics, as she called them, that put food on her table and paid her rent.
Absolutely. And from when you visited that January as well, am I right in thinking you were almost like you were going into production later that year? So it was quite a fast turnaround for for a project. What was that like compared to your first film as well? Was that kind of a lot longer?
Yeah, it was. I mean, at the time when I came down for the research, I didn't know when we were going to make the film. So I think I came down for the research in January 2018, and read as much as I could, and carried on thinking and plotting this story out. And I sat down to write it in April 2018, and I think I delivered it in May 2018, and we shot it the following March. And so once the script had been written, very quickly we hurtled towards casting and locations and all of the things that you need to make a film. Whereas with God's Own Country, obviously I'd never made a film before. I didn't know how you made a film. I didn't know, what the steps were, or how you got funding, or any of those things. I just wrote the film on spec. And I wrote that in 2013, and I think we shot it in 2016. So there was 3 years of further development, I guess, of getting to know who funders were, participating on some schemes run by BFI, BBC Films, Creative England, that kind of thing. So there was a bit more time, but in terms of the script, I think both scripts probably had about as much work in the time. I write very intensively and very quickly, and then turn around drafts quite quickly once I'm in it. So it's kind of an advantage really for everything else to move as quickly as I can move with the scripts.
The intersection of class and gender in this film is a very strong theme, of course, that you explore, but also class is something you explore in God's Own Country, and kind of queerness is almost secondary to that as well. So what is it for you with, I suppose, like with working class themes and telling these stories that's so important?
I think probably because I am working class for starters, and have a very working class background, and I think that it's to do with, if you like, hidden voices or voices that you might not ordinarily see on screen, or elevated in that sense, or trying to represent these people with respect and dignity and elevating them to certain positions. So there's an awful lot talked about the limitations of class, and I'm guilty of that as much as the next person, where I can talk endlessly about how I didn't become a filmmaker until I was 47, because I didn't know how you did it. I didn't have a great education. I wasn't very confident. I felt that it was a very middle class profession that I didn't know how to break into. But I'm kind of keen also to tell stories, not just looking at the problems of class, but the celebration of those cultures and those voices. And Mary Anning, for me, felt like what instantly drew me to her as a character were her circumstances. Was the fact that she was born into a life of poverty in a very working class family, and the way in which she rose to being this incredible paleontologist through her own fortitude and strength. And I got this real sense that she just wanted to survive, And as you say, in this period, when the film is set, there were other paleontologists, very famous paleontologists, but they were middle class. They did it as a hobby. They didn't do it to survive, to earn money, as it were. And there was just something super interesting in that for me. Yeah, and I think that was the first thing that really drew me to her as a character.
And when you're developing that character, can you still, yeah, when you're developing that character, do you have an actor in mind, or how do you come to essentially deciding, oh, Kate Winslet would be great to to front my film?
Yeah, no, I don't write with anybody in mind, mainly because I would be absolutely devastated if you spend however long it takes to write it and develop it, and you've got this person in your head and you send it them all excited, and then they come back and say, no, I don't want to do it. So I tend not to think of anybody. So it was only after the script had been written and a lot of thinking and talking did I start to think about who should play this character. And I knew I wanted the actor to play this character to be British, because of the class system in the UK, and how just by being British we understand the class structure inherently. I knew I wanted somebody who doesn't worry about vanity in their performances, and somebody who I think would really relish working in the way in which I work, which is with a lot of prep or rehearsals. And I knew I wanted somebody really famous, because I was dealing with Mary Anning, who hadn't been elevated in her own lifetime. So I wanted to do everything I could to elevate this person. And so casting a movie star to play that would elevate her again. And so once you've gone through all of that list and you need somebody in their mid-40s, then your list is quite small. And of course, Kate Winslet was always on the top of that list. There wasn't any particular performance she'd done. It was the fact that whatever she had done, there was a truth to her performances. There was like an attack, if you like, and I really liked that. So she became the person I wanted to play the part, and she got sent the script.
And she loved it.
She did love it. I was very lucky. She read it on the same day it was sent to her, and she came back within a couple of hours and said, I want to do it.
That's incredible. And you did touch on as well the way that you work, and in our Q&A with Gemma Jones as well, she said that she felt with you being an actor before coming to writing, directing, it really enhances and is great for her as an actress and what helps her get the best performance and really understand that. What do you think have been the benefits of, I guess, understanding both sides of the camera and direction?
Yeah, it's I always find it really, really super interesting because I don't think I was a very good actor and I didn't work that much. But I think what I learned from screen work anyway was how difficult it is to stand in front of a camera and to deliver a performance, how vulnerable you feel, how nervous, on edge, on, you know, how all of those things just first, you have to kind of battle all of those things first before you even get to the performance. And so I think it's that understanding and possibly having a vocabulary or language or whatever to be able to you know, talk to actors and talk about what it is you want or what you're looking for or whatever. But yeah, I see it. I always see it as my job to create the very, very best environment I can to make actors feel super comfortable and confident and heard, so they can deliver their best.
And everyone really did in this as well. And going from, I guess, the production side to post-production, how did you find the post-production on Ammonite specifically? And also, what were the hardest things for you to cut? I think I read somewhere that there were different potential endings as well. So I don't know if that was a difficult decision for you, or...
Well, I think it's you know, it's super interesting making film because when I wrote my first film, I kind of assumed what you did was you write the script, you go away and shoot all of those scenes, and then you come back to the edit, and then you just put those scenes in the order in which they are in the script, and then you have your film. And what the very brilliant film editor Chris Wyatt taught me on God's Own Country, which I continued through into Ammonite, is actually you find the film in the edit. And so if there are scenes that aren't included in Ammonite, it's not because they didn't work or that they weren't, you know, really lovely or all of those kinds of things. It's because they didn't fit into the film we were making in the edit. And once I understood that, it's become a very different process for me, you know, and a lot more free, you know, and less rigid. But I think the most challenging thing in the post-production period was, I think it's not the edit and it's not the sound, because I love doing the sound massively. It's probably, you know, all the other things that come with that, you know, the technical aspects of it and what have you, those things, because I'm not at all technical and I don't understand those processes. I find those things challenging.
And overall, of course, you've written and directed 2 full feature films now, which are with their like respective stories. What to you makes a good story, and how does that, I guess, influence how you write? Because both your pieces kind of so far have been like incredibly character like driven, I guess, and less plot heavy, and allow exploration of these characters, I suppose, because everyone's quite internal as well. So yeah, what makes a good story in your mind?
I mean that.
Yeah.
I think you know I'm really fascinated by characters and deep, intimate human relationships, and you know, the internalized life of people. So all of those things really fascinate me. I also, with both God's Own Country and Ammonite, they're both deeply personal films where I was exploring aspects about myself and relationships, trying to figure it out for myself, I guess. But yeah, and it's been super interesting making both of these films, because I think moving forward, if I continue to make work, I think I would like to, you know, explore things that maybe do have more plot or are more driven by a storyline rather than by a character or by an emotion. Yeah, yeah. It would be interesting to see to kind of see it in slightly different ways.
Mm. I suppose a parting question would be for the, I guess, up and coming generation of filmmakers and storytellers. So what would your advice be on storytelling in general? What should, yeah, be one piece of advice?
I mean, I always preface giving any advice by saying, you know, I literally have written 3 scripts and made 2 films. So you know, there's I'm only 1 or 2 tiny steps ahead of somebody who's sitting down to write their first screenplay. I'm not that far ahead. I would say what I've learned is to be truthful to your own voice, and to trust your own voice, and to hone it and polish it, because that's the thing that makes you unique. Nobody else has that voice. Nobody else sees the world in the way in which you see it, and not to overthink things by trying to second guess what they think a producer or a financier wants. Just write the stuff you believe in and that you want to see in the way in which you want to see it. And yeah, I think that's what I would say. Be true to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Be true to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on Ammonite. It really is a beautiful film, and I know everyone's very excited to see what you put out next.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.